We're going to call the meeting to order. And we usually start our meeting with a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. God of justice and mercy, we know that you are with us at all times and in all places, if only we turn to you in faith. And so we turn to you now, seeking your continued blessings on those of us who have chosen public service, as well as those members of our community who are with us tonight to join us in our deliberations and decision-making. We ask that you would give all of us patience and the commitment to respect and to listen to each other. For the members of this commission, help us always be mindful that we are public servants. Help us to hear with our hearts and to think clearly and reasonably. Help us to have the vision to look at the issues before us with wisdom and the determination to do what is best, even if it is not easy. Guide us in all we do to work for the common good. Tonight, we also ask your blessings on our courageous first responders, as well as those who seek their help. We ask your blessings on all those who support and contribute to the work of this commission, knowing without their diligent efforts, our work here would not be possible. Loving Creator, we pray all these things in the name of Jesus and all that is holy. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Carlson. Present. Commissioner Sands. Commissioner Sands? Are you present? Commissioner Kirkwood? Here. Commissioner Buck? Here. Commissioner Burton? Chair Hogendijk?
Present.
Oh, heck. Commissioner Owens? Commissioner Wilcox? You have a quorum.
Okay. At this point, can we turn off our cell phones and so we don't get interrupted? Okay. Do we have a staff report on the county commissioners' actions?
There have been no actions since your last meeting and report. I would just briefly, though, like to introduce Cynthia, who is our new planning tech. She's helping out, taking minutes at tonight's meeting, and we're glad to have her. She's been here almost 2 weeks now. So,
welcome. Okay, we don't have any consent agenda items. At this point in time, we can have citizen comments if they're not related to the issues tonight. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes. Does everybody have a chance to look at the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any items that are not okay? Any changes? Okay. I entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 6th. All approved? In favor? Aye. So now we come to the election of officers. So this is the first meeting of the year, and it's the point at which we elect a chair and a vice chair. So now you can nominate anybody you'd like to. Any other nominations? Okay. I'll nominate Danny for vice chair. White ballot, done deal. Okay.
Those who don't want the jobs get
Could we at least vote on that?
Pardon?
Are we all in favor of?
Well, it's a white ballot, but all in favor of? Vote aye? Aye. Aye. Okay, now we got the public hearing process, and this matter requires this body to conduct a quasi-judicial hearing, which means the body must first find facts, a basis decision upon the application of the adopted regulation, standards and criteria, and the competent, substantial, and material evidence received during this hearing. All testimony must be competent, on topic, and not repetitious. And the order of public hearings starts with opening the public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at this point. And the first thing is a staff presentation.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Greg Thompson. I'm the CDS Director for Elbert County. I'll be presenting the staff report on this particular proposal. The item before you this evening is the Spring Valley Ranch filing number 9. It's case number FP-22-0023. This is a request for final plat approval, basically the creation of the lots that would be available for sale. The applicants have identified 130 residential lots, 11 tracts, and associated right-of-way for the development of this property. The landowner is Spring Valley Land Investments 2 LLC. The applicant is C.J. Kirst with Tahoe Consulting LLC. He's present in the audience. The location is west of the intersection of County Road 1721 and River Highlands Drive. To orient you to the site, the zoning map is identified here. The area in blue is the site. That's zoned PUD, as is the rest of the purple area there that is Spring Valley Ranch. The green is agriculture, so residential, one of the residential zones is kind of that orange color as well. Just to kind of let you know what the process is and what happens before we sit before you. These type of applications and most applications go through a similar process where we have a pre-application meeting. We sit down with the applicant and give them direction on what's their best route in terms of applications. We identify any pitfalls, issues, and concerns, and they tell us what they're interested in doing. A community meeting is held where reach out to the community and let them know what's proposed. The applicants, it's their meeting to run, but staff attends to make sure that there's accurate information being conveyed and answer any questions of the county that residents might have. After those things are done, the applicant submits the required documents. And for a final subdivision, that includes things like the plat and engineering plans and drainage plans, that sort of thing. Staff reviews that information and makes sure it's complete, that we have all the things on our list that we pass along to them and all the things we might need as part of this particular site. So when the application's complete, we route that out to referral agencies. Referral agencies such as the fire department, Corps, the school district, that type of thing. So we make sure that we let folks know what's coming down the pike and they can react to that and let us know if they have any issues, problems, or concerns. The referral agencies send us those comments, either an email. It's typically how we might get that. After we've collected all of those comments, we make sure there's no conflict there. We don't want the fire department saying put a hydrant there and the road and bridge folks saying put a road there. So we try to resolve some of those things beforehand. But we forward those comments to the applicant. The applicant then revises their plans and resubmits to us, and we route those back around to those agencies that are affected. So if, the fire department didn't have any comments and they were fine with it, as long as they're not making dramatic access changes, probably don't route that around to them again. So that back and forth of submittal and recheck goes on until issues are resolved. On this particular application, there were some drainage nuances that needed to be worked out. So there was a variety of kind of back and forth on the drainage specifically. But once those issues are resolved, then we schedule it for Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. And essentially that's where we're at now. We're at the Planning Commission meeting, and you offer a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and the BOCC either approves or denies the proposal. So just wanted to give you a sense and a flavor of kind of what goes on in the background before it comes to you. Is the county engineer reviews it, the road and bridge folks, CDS, fire, all of the different referral agencies. The hearing dates for Planning Commission are today, January 3rd of 2023, and the Board of County Commissioners is in a few weeks on January 25th. This is an aerial of the site showing the developed area within Spring Valley Ranch to the east, along with the golf course, and a developing area of Spring Valley Ranch that's north of this site. There's also a platted area that has not yet been developed. This was the best representation of the plat. This is on the far east side is the River Highlands Drive. The lots that are shown coming off of this kind of spine road, if you will, are it's the 130 lots. The spine road itself is not included in the platting. It's already platted, it's already identified, it's already planned to be built. Each of these kind of pod-like areas, if you will, have a little bit more than 40 lots. So it gives you some sense of perspective there. The rest of the area in the middle would have easements going through them for utilities to get from one area to the other, and just generally speaking would be open space. There's a list of referrals in Colorado Division of Water Resources, Elbert County Sheriff, CDS, Kiowa Conservation District, Rattlesnake, Fire Protection, the Building Department, Road and Bridge, County Engineer, Assessor, Excel, Corps, and Elizabeth Park and Rec. So your job today is to review the criteria in the application and see if the proposal complies with the review criteria. Article 1C of the it says zoning regulations, it's actually the subdivision regulations, but relate to the subdivision applications. The first one relates to the water supply. Is there a sufficient water supply? The applicant provides water through a water district. They can probably go into more detail about that. The reason we sent that along to the State Division of Water Resources is to ensure that they didn't have any particular issues. The applicant, I'm sure, can share a little bit more about how their water supply works if you have questions about that in particular. But suffice to say, the findings were that it was sufficient. Second criteria deals with sewage disposal, and that water district is also a sewer district, or perhaps there's two different districts. Nonetheless, they have sewer that is available to the site. I can go into more depth about that. The finding was that they had sufficient sewage disposal. The third criteria deals with soil and topographic conditions. There was nothing in particular that was identified as a hazard or the required particular precautions to be taken on this particular site. Fourth criteria identifies that they have to be compliant with the subdivision and zoning regulations. So the lots that are proposed, the access that's proposed, et cetera, needs to be compliant with the size lots that are permitted in the PUD, and that they're going through the appropriate applications to ensure that they comply with all those rules and regulations, and that all the referral agencies believe that as well. The fifth criteria talks about the comprehensive plan. It makes sense, doesn't make sense basically to have residential in this area that was identified several years ago as being appropriate for residential. This is basically the completion of this particular area on the site that was planned for a residential development. So it fits with that aspect of the comprehensive plan. So from a finding standpoint, what a finding is basically that you have reviewed the record, you've reviewed the application, you've listened to the applicant here in a moment and any other testimony that might be coming in, and that you make a finding that the water supply is sufficient, the sewage is sufficient, that there's no topography that would impede development, the plat complies with zoning and subdivision regulations, and the comprehensive plan. CDS recommends the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of County Commissioners approval of the requested Spring Valley Ranch filing number 9, final plat. There are some conditions associated with that. The typical, please remove the sign. It's typically said within 7 days. The code says 14 days. I changed it to 14. So they need to get the darn sign down relatively quickly. That the fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, subdivision plats recorded, and then all of that occurs within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners approval. That's something that's right in the code. The fourth condition was adjusted slightly, and then a fifth condition was added, so I'll read through those. The fourth condition, building permits will not be issued until filing roads are inspected and accepted by the county into the 2-year warranty period, with exception to early building permit issuances as proposed in the final subdivision improvement agreement. And that improvement agreement is not yet finalized, so, but that's been something that's been proposed. The fifth one is easements which are already recorded shall have the reception numbers added to the plat. So on the area that's proposed for the subdivision, there's already some easements that exist. We just want to identify where those are coming from. So we want to have that added. That's the staff presentation on this proposal. The applicant is here. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have later.
Do you have a presentation you'd like to do or anything you'd like to add? I think you need to push the button there. There you go. Now
Better? Okay. Should I repeat that, or are we good? Okay. Really don't have anything more to add. Just some background, and I've got Jim Marshall here, the owner with Spring Valley Land Investments too, if he'd like to say something or you have questions for him. But Greg spoke a little bit about the water and sewer. We're actively in the process right now of going through the planning for expansions on that. Right now there's a 650,000 gallon water tank that's out there. We've got an application in to CDS for a 2.1 million gallon water tank, which would pretty much complete everything. And we're monitoring the wastewater treatment capacity situation and actively working on a reuse pond and process that will incorporate into everything that's out there. So the area immediately to the north is known as Filing 7, and it is currently under development. I would imagine that Century Communities will start to build some homes out there later this year, hopefully this summer. Hopefully the market continues or will get better and activity will pick up a little bit more, but it's still actively under development even with that being said. So that's the only thing I wanted to add, just for a little extra context.
we have any public testimony? Okay. I'll close public comment at this point. And do we have any discussion among the board? Is any questions or anything you might have for them? Go ahead.
In the DWR submittal, I noticed that it refers to sections A through M, but doesn't refer to N. And I didn't know if that was a material problem or a documentation problem. Am I making sense on that, Greg?
I think the applicant will address that.
I'll try to clarify that. Tract N was a single lot at the corner of County Road 174 and 1721. That was sold many years ago, and it's owned by a private homeowner. But the A through M, these two particular planning areas are K and L, but you're right, it was A through N.
Okay.
So that probably just maybe an oversight.
I did notice too that there was tracts and planning areas. So the PUD I think had planning areas, and I'm sorry I don't have the exactly which one was which. But then the tracts as they came through for the platting, they were different than the planning areas. I mean, I looked back through what you were talking about, and I think that the Division of Water Resources were referencing the right area. I had the same question or the same kind of thought.
That answers the question I had.
Just, there we go, all right. Just one question. You guys were gonna do reuse, water reuse, and I didn't see much planning or anything there, but I didn't expect it to be in this. Is that something you've already taken care of, or?
We're working with the state right now and getting our reuse applications approved. We've been working on the reuse program here for at least a year now.
Yeah.
And the goal is we're actually at the point now, we've got, I think, close to 550 homes currently. We're starting to generate enough reuse where it actually makes sense to not just put it back in the creek, but use it, and the goal is to use it at the golf course.
Okay.
Quick question. In the letter dated 1/21 that was addressed to you from David Solon, it says that there's sufficient water rights, but a new well in the Arapahoe is going to be drilled to service. It's like, do we have the?
Yeah, we actually drilled two new wells. We drilled a new Arapahoe well and a new Denver well, and both those wells are operational. They have been since last summer. So we're actually well ahead of the curve as far as we have now 5 active wells. We've got 2 Denver, 2 Arapahoe, and 1 Laramie Fox Hills. We also have a third Arapahoe, which is owned by the golf course, and the golf course uses that currently. So we do have a total of 6 wells, 5 for the residential development, 1 for the golf course. And again, they are operational. We'll probably drill another well next year. We're trying to stay a couple of years ahead of the curve as far as our ability to supply water. And as far as the wastewater plant, we've got plenty of capacity in our plant that'll last us at least another until we get up to about 1,300 units. So we're about halfway there, roughly.
Yeah, the letter was dated. It was about a year ago.
Yeah.
So just one more. You said you're working with the state. It just says their letter that's in our packet says, what is it? recommend the county determine whether is it appropriate to require development of renewable water sources for this subdivision to provide a long-term water supply. And they said it's it's coming from non-renewable aquifers. So that was just some clarification I wanted, either from Greg or.
Yeah, we get all our water from the Denver, the Arapahoe, and the Laramie Fox Hills. We do meet the 300-year water requirements that the county requires. We do have a letter from the state. We get letters updated every time we do a new filing, just to confirm that we do have the water necessary to.
The whole letter that they sent and submitted with it said, oh yeah, they got enough water. But then they're qualified, but hey, let us qualify that, and then they throw that in there, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, what does that mean?
Right, and Mike, they do it with everybody. The state is, it drives me crazy too, but they basically come in and say, you got enough water, but oh yeah, subject to this, this, and this,
Yeah.
which is kind of, it is what it is.
So basically, you're using a third of your water allocation each 100 years. To make
Right. Yeah, the 300-year water implies that we have a 300-year water supply. It's based on certain parameters and calculations that the state uses. We can debate all day long whether we have 300 years worth of water or not, and depending on who you talk to, some people might think we do, and some people might say it's more like 200 years or 150 years, but that's the standards that the state uses. We're measured by the standards that the state uses, and that's how we calculate our water.
If I remember right, weren't you using the recycled or recovered water for water on the golf course?
Not yet. That's the goal. Yeah, it's not the goal. It's what we're going to do. We've got the site for the reuse pond. CJ, I don't know how close are we to final approvals from the state on our application.
We're hoping by spring.
And honestly, at the end of the day, the golf course can really only use the water from about April to October anyway. One of the reasons we got the pond is we want to be able to store what we can, and we do want to use as much as we can. When the project is built out, we have enough water to supply the golf course with reuse water for the entire season. Initially, we wouldn't be able to supply it for the entire year, but golf course, as you can imagine, in the hot days in the summertime, it uses a lot of water.
Okay.
I just have one quick question. You talked about a 2.1 million gallon tank coming in soon. What is soon?
Well, we were originally going to try to put it in later this year before the housing market slowed down. And again, we were trying to be proactive on this. We probably don't, at this point, we don't think we're going to need it till 2025. So we have slowed the process down a little bit. It's a $2.9 million acquisition, and we did post the down payment mid last year. It was $900,000 on the down payment.
With the 5 or 650 gallon or 650,000 gallons. As you're looking at that, do you hit walls during peak season, even now with 550?
No, we're in really good shape right now. The other side of our water is we've had a lot of construction activity last summer, and that did get us a little bit tight, but we were also developing 3 filings last year, and that development is behind us, so we don't have the need for construction water that we had last summer, and we don't foresee that again anytime in the future. So we're more than covered for at least the next 3 years. We're probably going to look at installing the second storage tank in probably 2025 at this point. We do have the ability to draw the water from, and we actually do it. We like to rest our wells, and if we can, because we've got multiple wells, we can actually do this. We can pump, one Arapahoe, one Denver, and the LFH, and we do use the LFH. We installed a carbon filtration system, I guess 2 years ago now, because the water that comes out of the LFH, although it's the most productive well, it's also the most difficult water to use because there can be odors and there's byproducts that we need to get out. So it's the purification process is different there, but we can blend our water. We can shut, and we do shut down our Arapahoe and Denver wells periodically. We'll go to the other wells. We've got a nice situation right now where we're far enough ahead of the curve that we can allow our wells to rest and recharge. Yeah, it makes a big difference. It does. But the LFH, that thing, the production level on that is significantly greater than the Denver and the Arapahoe. But it's also the poorest quality, and it takes the most to treat. Yep. Yep.
One other question. This is filing 9. Are there any other filings?
Two more.
More?
Two more. There's filing 8 and filing 10. And filing 10 is the last half of planning area M. And filing 8 is 44 one-acre lots along the eastern boundary, up east of the golf course, up on a ridge. And that's planning area F.
What about filing 10? How many homes are in that?
That one is 323. That's one of our bigger projects. And it'll get phased. We're not going to do it all at once. And we see the reports every week on new home sales. The housing market since May of last year has slowed dramatically. The highest home prices in history and the highest mortgage rates in the last 15 years have had a lot to do with that. Nobody really knows when the Fed's going to relax the interest rate policies at this point. They keep charging forward for some strange reason, but I don't want to get too... I have my opinions on what they're doing, and I probably share the same opinions of most of you, but it's very frustrating to see what they're doing right now and how they're just ignoring some of the statistics that are starting to come out. I see the reports every week, and the Fed's still looking at numbers from March and April. It's ridiculous. But the market has slowed dramatically, and I think it's going to be most of 23 before we see it get back to what I would call a more normal market. And what we saw in the last half of 21 and the first 6 months of 22, that was absolute euphoria. It was too hot. Supply chain issues were a big deal. Nobody could keep up. The builders couldn't keep up. Supply chain was sucked. That's a technical term. And we'll get back to a more healthy market here, but I think it'll be later this year, early next year before we get there. And mortgage rates don't have to go back to 3. I mean, that was ridiculous. But to be at 7 right now for the 30-year makes no sense either. And I think if we can get back in that 4.5% to 5% range at some point, we'll see a very healthy market going forward.
Historically, with this level of inflation, if you go back into the 70s and early 80s, FHA and VA was at 17.5%.
Well, I remember my first mortgage in 1980 was 13 3/4, and if I had bought that house 1 year later, it would have been about 19.5.
Mine
Yeah.
was 23.
And I was kicking myself because I didn't lock fast enough. If I had to lock 2 weeks earlier, I would have been in the 11s. But they really did. It was crazy. I still remember, though, I think it was 1991 or 1990, when the 30-year went below 10%. It was front page news on the Denver Post. Mortgage rates go below 10%, and everybody thought that was fantastic.
There are people that refinanced 3 and 4, 5 times.
Yeah, I know.
As it came down, every time it came down 1.5 or 2%, they'd refinance.
Well, one of my boys got a 2 3/8% 30-year fixed mortgage back in February.
Right.
Crazy.
Somewhere around. Okay, any other questions?
Thanks.
Okay. So, with the board-only discussion completed, we've got a motion and a roll call. So I would entertain a motion. Do you want to make a motion to approve? FP 22-2023. Okay,
Just to
we-
clarify, does that include the 5 conditions? Just making sure.
okay, so what we're going to do going forward, if we get an aye vote, it's assumed that you're agreeing with all the conditions and that it meets all the requirements. If there's a no vote, we'd like for you to state for the record why you're voting no, and this will be on a roll call votes going forward. Okay? So, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimously 4. So, that closes the public hearing on Spring Valley Ranch filing number 9. We don't have any work session items, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor?